Now, on this one, I pretty much agree with Roland. Betsy DeVos is a nightmare, and hopefully we'll be able to wake up to a different reality. But she issued a statement that basically pissed off a lot of people. And it pissed off a lot of people because the statement, although if you're looking at it on its face, could be interpreted, I said could be interpreted as being factually correct. But in the world of reality, the statement basically sought to rewrite Black history and American history. And I don't know who wrote the statement, and hopefully she didn't. She just went through it, glossed over it, and then allowed its release, because it basically is a lie, okay, if you're just looking at real facts. Anyway, here's Roland getting on her regarding the statement that she issued after a meeting with the presidents of the HBCUs. I guess she wanted to put a quote-unquote positive statement out there, and what she did was she created a firestorm. Here we go.
When you begin to talk about politics, you begin to talk about certain things that are said, that are made, that are quite interesting. And that is, this statement here was released yesterday by the Education Secretary, Betsy DeVos, following the listening session with the HBCU leaders. Shelley, if we could give me 1 second. I want to pull this up, folks, because I saw it last night, and then I heard about it last night, and then I decided to find it this morning and talk about being quite confused by what it says, and so having some issues here with my iPad. So I'm just going to go ahead and read it. Here's what's interesting. This is what the Education Secretary, okay, now we have it right here. This is what she said. A key priority for this administration is to help develop opportunities for communities that are often the most underserved, rather than focus solely on funding. Shelley, go to my iPad, please. We must be willing to make the tangible structural reforms that will allow students to reach their full potential. Historically Black colleges and universities have done this since their founding. They started from the fact that there were too many students in America who did not have equal access to education. They saw that the system wasn't working, that there was an absence of opportunity, so they took it upon themselves to provide the solution. HBCUs are real pioneers when it comes to school choice. They're living proof that when more options are provided to students, they are afforded greater access and greater quality. Their success has shown that more options help students flourish. Okay, here's my fundamental problem with that, okay? I get the cute wording in terms of did not have equal access to education. But if you're the education secretary, can you please have a proper education about HBCUs in this country? The fact of the matter is, America segregated. America refused to allow black folks to attend school. Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896, said separate but equal. That was the law. Black colleges were created because black kids could not go to white schools because of their race. It simply wasn't a lack of access. It was white supremacy. It was segregation. And we saw that upheld. Ever heard of Heman Sweat? He was a brother in Texas who sued the University of Texas because he wanted to apply to the law school. The law in Texas, Secretary DeVos, said that no black student could attend any law school in that state. Go across the country, even when black folks did go to certain schools, like Benjamin Davis when he went to West Point, they didn't talk to him for the entire year. Why? Because he was black. Please don't dare, as a school choice supporter, try to set up HBCUs as a matter of school choice. I support school choice. I support charter schools. But HBCUs were not created because of school choice. Black folks didn't necessarily want the choice to have to create just black institutions. Black parents wanted their kids to go to any school in this country. So if you're the Secretary of Education, at least make an attempt to be factually correct. Don't issue a statement that's a lie. We don't do alternative facts on this show. This administration must not do alternative facts. So I suggest you put out a new statement. It actually says us the truth about why America created historically black colleges and universities, because we had historically white colleges and universities. And that's why. What you also should do, Secretary DeVos, is to release a statement questioning why HBCUs have been improperly funded by various states. I can tell you in Louisiana, HBCUs not fully funded. In Texas, not fully funded. In fact, Secretary DeVos, there's a lawsuit going on right now in Maryland where the HBCUs had to sue the state of Maryland to get equal funding. Alvin Chandler's was a lawyer in Mississippi where they sued Mississippi when it came to equal funding. North Carolina HBCUs have not seen equal funding. So please, if you're going to be the top education official in the country, at least pick up a history book when it comes to historically black colleges and universities in America. It was white supremacy. It was racism. It was discrimination. It was segregation. It was the law of the land. Those are real facts, not alternative facts. When we come back, we'll talk about.
All right, so I can't disagree with anything he said there, and honestly, the majority of the Trump administration seems to be tone deaf on a lot of issues. It's scary that the most rational, reasonable people that are in the Trump administration are the people that are in charge of making war, the military, the Department of Defense, the Homeland Security, etc. Those people seem to have the most down-to-earth views excuse me, on things within their sphere of influence. Unfortunately, Donald Trump may not be listening to them because of a person by the name of Stephen Bannon, who has the last say in Trump's ears before he goes to sleep at night, and the first one before he wakes up in the after he wakes up in the morning, contrary to popular belief that it's his chief of staff, Rance Priebus, that has that particular position. All right, at the moment that I'm doing this, I'm debating whether I'm going to include this on the clip that you've just taken a look at. And the reason I'm debating it is because Roland Martin basically has his argument all set up, ready to go, and then he's going to ask Gianna Caldwell, the black Republican on the panel, obviously he's going to ask him to try to defend the statement that Betsy DeVos made. Mr. Caldwell specifically stated that he was not there to defend the statement. That should have been the end of it, but then Roland is trying to push him into, again, defending the statement itself and giving his opinion on the statement. We already knew what Mr. Caldwell's opinion was just based on the fact that he said he wasn't up there to defend the statement. He didn't agree with the statement or support the statement. But then Roland puts him in the unenviable position of having to get out there and expose himself. So when he pushed Mr. Caldwell's back to the wall, obviously Caldwell pushed back and trying to use the only defense that he could, which was it was an effort, okay, to say something nice, to do the right thing. Not that there was any substance behind it, but it was more of a goodwill issued message than anything else. And one thing I also noticed, Roland Martin's microphone is louder than everybody else's, because when he starts getting into, I'll call it a confrontation, verbal confrontation, obviously, his commentary or his statements more than not tend to drown out the statements of the people that he's in the controversy with. Anyway, here's the exchange with Roland, Gianna Caldwell, Ava, I forget her name, you'll see it, he's going to announce all the names of the people, and Monique Presley is one of the other people, and she was fairly reasonable. As a matter of fact, all of Roland's panel were fairly reasonable towards Mr. Caldwell, other than Roland, but he was just flat out ridiculous.
We have, of course, Tiffany Lofton on the far left end. Tiffany, of course, education, labor union organizer. We also have Gianna Caldwell, Republican strategist at Caldwell Strategic Consulting. Dr. Avis Jones DeWeaver, leadership strategist, author of Exceptional Black Women Lead. Also, Monique Presley, legal analyst and attorney of the Presley firm. I want to get to healthcare and Trump in a minute. I'm going to start, though, with this comment by DeVos. Gianna, what the hell is this statement? What the hell is this? Lack of access? No, that's not why HBCUs were created. This is the Secretary of Education. Has she ever seen a history book?
Well, as we see, what the Trump administration is doing is a really well-intentioned effort.
No, that's not what I asked you. That's not what I asked you. I asked you specifically about the statement of the Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos.
I'm not going to get on this air and try to defend the statement.
No, I didn't ask you to defend it.
Yeah.
I asked you your thoughts about it.
Well, I think it's a well-intentioned statement. Those are my thoughts.
It's a well-intentioned statement?
Absolutely.
Is it factually correct?
I would say it's a well-intentioned statement.
Is it factually correct? Yes or no?
And I would also say that there was a lack of access. That's true. What you also mentioned is true.
Bro, really? As a black man from Chicago, you really trying that little silly spin?
Come on now.
Don't tell me, bro, if the Secretary of Education cannot acknowledge that the fact of the reason we have HBCUs is because of flat-out segregation, white supremacy, discrimination in America.
Again, what she said was correct. There was a lack of access. That is true.
Okay, he is right. See, Roland is out there trying to attack him. Segregation also means lack of access. If you cannot go somewhere because of racist policies, whatever, that means that you cannot go somewhere. You do not have access to the place because of the racist policies. We're playing word games here. And Roland's pushing, and Mr. Caldwell is right. It was lack of access because of racist policies, because of racist laws. There was no access, so they had to create, the HBCUs had to be created because there was no access to higher public education. He is right, but Roland is, just going off the deep end, attacking this guy. And this is not the first time on this particular show. He's going to go after this guy left, right, up, and down. It's funny that he doesn't go after various other people that are on the show, i.e. Amber Phillips, with the same venom that he goes after Mr. Caldwell. It's a damn shame, and he needs to take a look at himself, and he needs to tone. I mean, he really does need to tone his rhetoric down somewhat. He can say the same thing. He's normally right, but it's the tenor of his arguments that are starting to turn not only myself but other people off.
True. Tiffany.
Regardless of the wording of this, she has a long way to go to be on the right side of history when it comes to talking about black folks and education in this country. For even her nomination, from even her answers to the questions that Senator Elizabeth Warren asked her, she has not done anything right thus far. And so her agenda moving forward, like Gianna said, needs to be one, well-intentioned, but two, needs to be action-driven. There's no action behind what she is saying, and there's just a statement that has happened so far that has said, oh, I care about black folks during Black History Month. And so if we're going to talk about higher education, it's not just about HBCUs. What is her agenda for public education, for student debt across this country, which we still have not solved at all, and what is her power in Congress?
Monique.
Tiffany was both respectful and reasonable and got the same points across without being a jerk about it. I agree with her 100%. And nice presentation.
You are a lawyer. Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896, was decided by the Supreme Court. Okay, this little cute statement, fine, but at least have the guts to acknowledge factual information about why HBCUs were created. We have historically black colleges and universities because historically white colleges and universities would not accept black kids.
Right, but we have no reason to expect that she's going to do anything other than gloss over the real facts of history, and she's not alone in that. To me, this is just another example of the tone-deaf nature of this administration, the flat-out ignorance in terms of not just African American history, but the history of this country. And I'm not surprised that the statement came out the way that it did.
Avis. Your comment on this again, absence of opportunity. They took it upon themselves to provide the solution. They did not have equal access to education.
That is revisionist history 101. And like Monique said, this is not, unfortunately, it's not unique. We are seeing school systems across the country purchase history books that basically whitewash our history, that don't even mention the African experience in terms of exactly. And so this is just another example of the sort of whitewashing of history by this country that seeks to sort of put aside its very, very disastrous past as a way to claim that they've always been sort of this beacon of open opportunity, and it's not true, and it's dangerous, and everyone actually is negatively impacted because of it, because the country itself becomes more ignorant when we don't tell the truth about our history.
Just don't lie.
Yeah.
Okay, now both Avis, who was the last woman that spoke, and Monique were both very, very reasonable in their arguments or statements. Argument is just another word for statement. But anyway, they were both reasonable in their statements. I have no problem whatsoever with that. But I guess Roland's got to come back in here and jump in here again and be whatever he is. I'm not even going to go there.
Don't be cute.
That's not a lie. Equal access is the buzzword for those cases, for the stream of cases that enabled us to have schools that became integrated. So she's just snatching out the word and basically saying we had no help, so we helped ourselves.
Well, she's snatching that word out, but she's also trying to advance the idea of school choice by saying, oh, they created school choice. Stop it. It's ridiculous. All right, let's get to health care. Yesterday, President.
All right, so all three of the panelists were reasonable in their statements. Roland Martin was the raving maniac on this one. He needs to tone this crap back because I'll just put it to you straight out. I just don't like the way that he's coming across, especially when he starts attacking these black Republicans that show up on the show. I mean, I don't agree with him either, but there's such a thing as being civil, and he is starting to show less and less civility towards these people.